I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on the Spotlight Network, we're diving into an inspiring journey of faith, miracles, and purpose. The name of the book, The Burning Bush Still Speaks. It's written by a terrific author. Her name is Sally Ann Martin. And in the book, she shares her incredible experiences of witnessing modern day miracles, fostering children in need, and seeing God's hand in every aspect of her life. If you're looking for a book that reaffirms the power of faith and the miracles that still happen today, this is one you won't want to miss. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Prime 7 Media for helping us put her in the spotlight today, and we ask viewers like you to support authors like her by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing her amazing book. The links are below the interview. And be sure to download the Spotlight Network TV app streaming on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire TV. Sally Ann, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. You've witnessed incredible miracles as documented during your life, and you've documented them in this book. Can you share one of these miracles that truly has had a great or profound impact on your life?
Um, I think the biggest one that blew me backwards was uh, we took 200 children to summer camp. It
Mm,
was my first encounter to take 200 of them to camp.
mm,
And I didn't know how to lower the costs. So I
mm,
wrote to the lady and I said, how can I lower the costs? And she said, if you bring all the food to camp, then we've got a deal. When I received the list, I almost fainted. It was something like 100 chickens, 90 loaves of bread. And so it went on and on and on. There were fish lists, there were dairy products. And I just looked at this list and I said to my team, we're never going to make it. With my salary and their salaries, we just weren't going to be able to provide.
mm.
But we stood firm and we said, if God wants us to go ahead with this camp and um, look after these children and tell them about Jesus, we've got to hold faith. And we prayed for the food. So I said to the others, I said, let's go to church. If the people can give us just one loaf of bread
Mm.
and a chicken, then we've conquered, some of the food. And then we can go from church to church to church. So I went up to the easel and I said to the congregation, I said, this is what we're going to do. We're taking 200 children out of children's homes. We're taking them to summer camp. Uh, can you help us? If so, can you come see me afterwards? And I went and sat down. Afterwards, one little old lady came forward and she offered her services for a chicken and a loaf of bread. Nobody else came forward.
Mm.
I was in tears. I got in the car and I was just about to drive away when there was a knock on the window. And a gentleman just put a piece of paper through, and in those days it was fax machines. There was no internet. And he said, fax me your list. And he walked away. I, I don't know his name. He was a stranger. First
Mm.
time I've ever seen him at church. And I thought, rubbish. But something said to me, fax the list. So I
Mm.
went to the bank the next day where I worked and I faxed the list. And I prayed very hard that this man wasn't kidding me. And about 2 weeks later, I received a phone call. It sounded very urgent, and they just said trucks and trucks and trucks were pulling up at the church. I had to come. And when I got to the church, all the food was there.
Mm.
It came out that gentleman worked for an import export food agencies,
Wow.
and all he did was phone his friends, and one did it for the vegetables, one did it for the fruit, one did it for the meat, etc., etc. And every year for the next 10 years, they
Mm.
supplied the food.
Amazing.
All we had to do was pay for the transport and whatever the activities that the children did. And that, because of that miracle,
Mhm.
we could teach the children that God heard, that our prayers had been answered for them.
Yeah.
And for those 10 years, I had severe epilepsy.
Mm.
I had seizures. So I couldn't have children. So with those 200 children, I adopted 9 of them.
Wow.
Some were black, some were white, boys, girls. And after I stopped summer camp and everything, because, I was also getting old, um, and I stopped working for the bank and I came to England, my seizures stopped.
Hmm.
And when I look back now, I realized that had God not given me epilepsy, I would have gone to law school, I would have been a barrister. I wouldn't have given 2 thoughts to children that were in the homes.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have been able to write the book. I wouldn't have been able to tell other people how God still works today in their lives. So yes, that was
Yeah.
one of the biggest miracles that I've ever seen.
Wonderful. Wonderful. It's amazing. It reminds me of the feast where Jesus didn't have enough food for everyone, but miraculously the food appeared. I forget which
Yeah.
feast that was, but I need to be a better
The 5
biblical.
loaves and the 2 fish. Yeah.
There we go. There we
Yeah.
go. Okay, you're a
Yes.
better biblical scholar than I am. But yes, it reminded me of that story. Fostering 9 children is a gift of God for the children and also a gift from God to you. I'd imagine they added so much to your life, right?
They did, yes.
Yeah. A lot of care, a lot of love, a lot of comfort, a lot of joy, a lot of happiness.
Um, th- I got them when they were all 8 years old.
Mhm.
So I didn't have the problems of teaching them how to walk and talk and all that kind of
Mhm.
thing. Yes, they brought great joy to me, but I forgot they'd grow up and become
Mhm.
teenagers and become mouthy, and that they needed prom dresses and suits, and that they would start to date.
Mhm.
That didn't occur to me when I got them when I was 19. And
Yeah.
remember, I wasn't married, I was single.
Right.
But the things that God spoke to me about was I got very jealous of everybody when they were getting their licenses.
Mm.
And I had to bust around and, walk and everything. But the children realized that they could drive, so they could drive me around.
Mm.
They realized maybe they didn't have parents, but they had their health.
Mm.
And they never ever moaned ever again that they'd been taken away and put into care.
Mm.
With They could get their licenses at 18 years old. And it was a way for me, because of what I was a banker, I opened their bank accounts. I never gave them mobile phones. I never gave them PlayStations. If they wanted anything like that, they had to save, they had to go to the restaurant, they had to go work. And
Mhm.
that taught them the value of money, because if I died, they would they would know what to do.
Mhm.
So it sounds cruel, but if they didn't have the money, they couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
And because that's how South Africa was. We didn't have national insurance or um, Mediquip or anything like that. If you
Mm.
didn't have it, you couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
And it kept them off the drugs, and it kept them away from prostitution and things like that.
Yeah.
And I had rules.
Yeah.
If you got pregnant before you got married, I didn't give you a wedding.
Mhm.
If you did naughty things in the eyes of the law, you stayed in jail. I wouldn't bail you out.
Yeah.
It was simple rules like that. And today I can proudly say um, that I've now they're all married, and I've got 23 grandchildren and three
Wow.
great grandchildren. I'm only 55, so I'm raking them in.
It's amazing.
So I've
It's
got a
a,
big wall sheet as to who they married to and the names and their birthdays and
Amazing, amazing. That's an amazing story. That's a book in and of itself, just your life with
yeah,
9 foster children. And there are, of course, headaches and heartaches that you don't anticipate when you get
yeah,
that little beautiful 8-year-old in your house. And 10 years older, it's a man or a woman, and you're dealing with those
yeah,
issues. But I think all of the rules that you laid down were the kind of rules that my parents laid down. If
yeah,
you wanted clothes, you bought them yourself. If you wanted something, you
yeah,
got a job. There were no
yeah,
handouts. I mean, I
no,
was raised by depression age parents. So,
mm,
you got what you
okay,
earned and that was it. And it kept you on the straight and narrow because you had to
yeah,
work.
that's
And I
it.
think that was a gift that you gave them. I don't think it was unduly harsh at all. What do you hope readers take away from your book?
Um, a lot of the people that have read the books so far told me that um, it gave them an inspiration that there is a God. People want proof that God is there, that it's an idol or something like that. They don't realize that God is there all the time.
Mhm.
Um, when I came to England, we had nothing. We had literally nothing. And when the book was published, that was my first paycheck because I was still, um, getting our stuff together. And yeah, the money came in. And I didn't know why I was writing the book in the first place. But
Mm.
because I was bored and I was waiting for permission to work in the United Kingdom, I sat and I just typed. And I think my memory came back about what had happened with the children. Uh, and it wasn't always good things. There were nasty things that happened as well. I mean, children committed suicide out of the 200. Why? It wasn't just nice things to happen. There were also horrible things that I had to endure as well. And you go to God and you say, why did you do that? But looking back, I understand why they did it. There were horrible people involved, there were criminals involved, and um, then you feel a failure because maybe you didn't tell them about Jesus well enough.
Mm.
But God has a plan. And I don't tell God what to do. God tells me what to
Yeah.
do. And he wanted those children to come home.
Mm.
That was their time. Other children, again, were involved with terrible car accidents.
Mm.
And I'm battling with one child now because one of his frontal lobe is very badly damaged.
Mm.
But um, life isn't fair.
Mm.
That's why there's sin in the world. And I'm hoping that people won't give up because there's there's things go badly,
Mm.
and it's not always God's fault. People must learn to blame the devil. And if you read Job properly, the devil always has to ask God permission before something terrible happens, because God knows you can handle a situation because you're going to learn out of that situation. You've always got to take a step back and if you've got cancer, maybe, or you've lost a loved one, why did it happen? And maybe to make you grow better into a stronger person, or you're going to become a counselor later for that cancer treatment,
Mm.
or those organs of that person. It's to help somebody younger. So it's not always, as my boss would have said, it's not always about you.
Mhm.
It's about somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's a lesson in life we all have to learn.
Yeah.
This is you. The world does not revolve around you.
Yeah.
It's not all about you. It's about others. It's about
Yeah.
empowering other people like you empowered
That's
these
it.
200 children and the people from the community who came together to help you.
Yeah.
That's what it's
That's it.
about. That is
That's
a
it.
beautiful miracle, no doubt. The name of the book
Yeah.
we've been talking about today is The Burning Bush Still Speaks. In it, Sally Ann shares her incredible experiences of witnessing modern day miracles, fostering children in need, and seeing God's hand in every aspect of her life. Sally Ann, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. I appreciate your insight and your faith. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time until next time on Spotlight.